Evening. It is Pastor Trish, and we are beginning this evening our 38th week of doing some weekly devotions together. Thank you for joining me. I'm grateful for you for being willing to keep joining me and listening as I sometimes simply ramble on for a few minutes in the evening. This evening, we are going to continue as we've been doing throughout the month of Thanksgiving. We will get to a psalm of thanksgiving, Psalm 136. And I also want to just kind of give you a preview of what will be coming up. We'll continue to do Psalms of Thanksgiving this week. And so tonight and tomorrow night, I'll join you at 6 o'clock. Wednesday is Thanksgiving Eve. And for those of you who are Messiah members, you will remember or know that we have typically had an ecumenical community Thanksgiving worship with our friends at Crossview Covenant and United Belgrade or Belgrade United Methodist Church Holy Rosary, and then House of Worship was joining us this year as well. And because we are not meeting in person, we did gather together and have a virtual or pre-recorded worship service. And so that's going to air on the Messiah Facebook page as well as on our website and YouTube at 7 p.m. It will be posted to each of the church's various social media accounts at 7 p.m. on Thanksgiving Eve for you to watch then or at any time after that. Thanksgiving Day, my plan is to bring you a devotion in the morning as you are getting ready for whatever the day is bringing you as you pop that turkey, or maybe it's not a turkey this year, into the oven. I am hoping to bring you a devotion sometime. And then starting Sunday, November 29th, it's the first Sunday of Advent, we will be moving for the Advent season over to some Advent greetings, and they will be brought to you by various members and families at Messiah. Our goal is to post one every evening on our Messiah Facebook page at 6 p.m. And so we will have these Advent greetings for you in lieu of the devotions I have been doing between Sunday, November 29th, throughout Advent until Christmas Eve. So you will find those on the Messiah page. And if you are typically watching these devotions on my personal webpage, I invite you to go over to Messiah Lutheran and like that Facebook page, and then you will easily be able to find those greetings for you every night that I hope you will also enjoy and just be able to enjoy and find inspiration in still as we move into a new church season. All right, Psalm 136 is a community hymn, and it has a refrain that you hear over and over and over again, which is God's faithful love lasts forever. Or in another translation, God's steadfast love endures forever. There's that word again, steadfast love, faithful love. You know it as the Hebrew word hesed. A more literal translation of that particular term or line in the psalm would be, because for all time is the Lord's hesed. Because for all time, or times, sometimes it's plural, because for all times is the Lord's hesed. It's this understanding we have that God's steadfast love was definitely apparent to those ancient Israelites as God led them out of slavery, walked with them throughout the period of kings who they wanted to rule, and the kings weren't good rulers, bringing them the Messiah. We understand, of course, as Christians, God's hesed, God's steadfast love has endured throughout all generations. And we know God's hesed, God's steadfast love, is with us this evening, in this moment, and will be with us tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow and in all the days of our lives and beyond, right? Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. God's steadfast love, God's mercy, God's great forgiveness, God's grace lasts, endures forever. So in this psalm, it's another one of those where, I wish we were like in person or it could be interactive. because you would be able to repeat together that line. In my particular translation this evening, it's God's faithful love lasts forever. And we hear it over and over again. So I'm going to start and do just a few of the verses, I think, because it goes on for quite a while. I invite you to pull out your own Bible and and um, and join me and find a little bit of time with your own devotion. But in this moment, if you're following along, I invite you to just join me as we repeat that God's faithful love lasts forever. Even if we can't hear each other, we can know that we are still praising God together. So let's do that. Give thanks to the Lord because he is good. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the God of all gods. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the Lord of all lords. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the only one who makes great wonders. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the one who made the skies with skill. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the one who shaped the earth on the water. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the one who made the great lights. God's faithful love lasts forever. The sun to rule the day. God's faithful love lasts forever. The moon and the stars to rule the night. God's faithful love lasts forever. And then he starts moving in, the psalmist starts moving into a description of God's saving acts, of God's power throughout history. And so the next line is give thanks to the one who struck down the Egyptians' oldest offspring. God's faithful love lasts forever. Give thanks to the one who brought Israel out of there. God's faithful love lasts forever. I'm going to skip just a few more as we go along, and you will hear it again. Give thanks to the one who split the Red Sea in two. Give thanks to the one who led his people through the desert and killed powerful kings. Give thanks. God remembered us when we were humiliated. Again, after every line, we hear and say and pray, God's faithful love lasts forever. God rescued us from our enemies. God's faithful love lasts forever. God is the one who provides food for all living things. God's faithful love lasts forever. And the last line of this psalm, give thanks to the God of heaven. God's faithful love lasts forever. Amen. As I said, I skipped a few verses, probably several verses in there. I invite you to go back and see them. And the other thing I invite you to do this evening is to recount for yourself God's steadfast, God's faithful love and how it has lasted in your own life. I invite you to think about times in your life when God has perhaps rescued you, transformed you, uh, let you know God was with you. And in all those times, give thanks to God. I, for example, as I've said, I'm thankful that God has given me a voice and taught me how to use it, or gives me words to share God's good news with you. God's faithful love lasts forever. I'm thankful that God called me into ministry, but I'm also thankful for the many ways in which I was able to be caring for others when I was a social worker and when I worked with people of all sorts of different abilities and disabilities and needs. God led my work then too, and I'm grateful to God for that. I'm grateful for a God who was there when I was born, for giving me parents who brought me up in the church and taught me the faith. I'm grateful for a God who has allowed me to continue to pass that faith on to others. I'm grateful for a God who has been giving us beautiful sunrises and sunsets. I'm grateful for a God who gives us the gift of the change of seasons. We could go on and on. I could go on and on. I invite you to think about the things you're grateful for in your life and to remember how God's steadfast love lasts forever. Finally, I am going to post a couple of songs for you this evening based on this hymn, the one um, Forever by Chris Rice, I think, if I remember right. And I'm also, nope, I think I'll save the other one for another day. So I'm just going to post this one song this evening, a contemporary praise song based on this hymn as well for hopefully your enjoyment. All right, I've talked enough and we will see you tomorrow.